It's a Hotep. It's just another Hotep. It's a Hotep. It's just another Hotep. It's a Hotep. It's just another Hotep. It's a Hotep. It's just another Hotep.
Alright, Hotep family, today's date is May 25th, 2021, and this video essay is entitled High Tech Hotep by Prophessor A.C.E. So let me ask you a question. What is the purpose of information? Of course, somebody will say the purpose of information is to be informed. True and yes, but why do you want to be informed? Ultimately, you want to be informed, you want information so you can use that information in some way. So the purpose of information is application. The purpose of information, the purpose of knowledge is to use and apply it. The word technology has etymological origins in two words, the first being tech, referring to words associated with application and utilization, and the second being ology, referring to words associated with knowledge or information. Simply put, technology is the result of the practical application of knowledge to accomplish some needed or desired goal, result, or task. Technology is the product of the utilization of information. All information, whether right or wrong, can be used, but only correct information can be used exactly as it is given. The only way wrong information can be used is to correct it. Unfortunately, the application of wrong information leads to dysfunction, disastrous events, unfavorable circumstances, trials that end in error, and wasted time and energy. The attempted use and application of incorrect information manifests as debates, discussions, and arguments where there's an attempt to correct the wrong information. Incorrect information creates inefficient thinking in the mind of the individual who wastes time and energy thinking thoughts and ideas that are baseless and not applicable in the real world. Knowledge and information that cannot be used in the real world is literally useless information. What I call intellectual obesity is the result of acquiring too much useless information or acquiring too much information that is going unused and unapplied. Just like physical obesity, if the food, energy, or information that you consume is not processed and used properly, then poor health, both mentally and physically, will come as a result. Conversely, to be physically and mentally fit, one must properly use and apply the energy they consume. To quote a Hermetic axiom from the Kabbalion, the possession of knowledge, unless accompanied by a manifestation and expression in action, is like the hoarding of precious metals, a vain and foolish thing. Knowledge, like wealth, is intended for use. The law of use is universal, and anyone who violates it suffers by reason of their conflict with natural forces. Pragmatism is the philosophical idea that assesses the truth of information through practical application. That is to say, being pragmatic means you determine if information is true or false through the filter of practical application. The idioms, actions speak louder than words, show and prove, and love is not a word but an action are all expressions related to the philosophy of pragmatism. To quote Nipsey Hussle, demonstration speaks louder than conversation. There's an old saying that goes, you know the tree by the fruit it bears. Likewise, you know if knowledge or information is correct by the technology created from it. That is, what is produced from the practical application of the knowledge or information. The application and utilization of knowledge and information to produce technology is creation, and those who do it are creators who create. The manifestation of knowledge into the physical world by way of creativity in the form of technology is an objective indicator of an individual's knowledge and capability. Thus, the most advanced or highest form of technology at any given point in time is called state-of-the-art, which in turn indicates the state of mind. State-of-art technology is also referred to as cutting-edge technology and high technology or high-tech, the most advanced, most innovative, most inventive, most creative application and utilization of knowledge and information at a given point in time. In order to produce something that is high-tech, the science, knowledge, information, and data has to be rigorously scrutinized, questioned, criticized, and attempted to be falsified, for that is the way of the scientific method. So this brings me to the next topic in this video essay, the word Hotep. Operating under the crooked American system too long. Hotep, pronounced Hotep, a word from the language of ancient Egypt meaning peace, to be satisfied, or to be content. But let's look deeper than that. In recent years online, and now in real life, the word Hotep has become used as a pejorative to disparagingly identify members of the African American community who embrace their African cultural heritage and express it in fashion and style, and who point out the historical systematic oppression and injustices that black people have faced in America and around the world. The irony is that with the word Hotep meaning peace, many of the people who are identified as Hoteps are not at peace at all. In America, Just one example of the historical systematic oppression that African Americans have faced is being murdered by police officers with impunity for generations. And we protest this inequity by chanting, "No justice, no peace," or, to rephrase it relevant to this discussion, "No justice, no Hotep." Simply put, peace or Hotep cannot coexist with injustice. It is paradoxical to be Hotep, to be at peace within a system full of chaos, oppression, and injustice. When Hotep is used as a greeting, it is done so with two implied intentions. One being to let our brother and sister know that we mean them no harm, and two being to imply that the state of Hotep or peace is something that we aspire to attain within the world through our activism. To quote Fred Hampton, "Peace if you're willing to fight for it," and to rephrase and build on his quote, "Hotep if you're willing to fight for it, if you're willing to work towards it, and if you're willing to apply knowledge to bring it into fruition." But this is not to say that there are no problematic ideologies that are espoused or promoted by individuals identified as Hoteps. However, like they say these days, we must call a thing a thing. The first step in problem solving is correct problem identification. When the problem is not correctly identified, the problem will persist. The problem with Hoteps is not that we greet using the word Hotep or even identifying with ancient Nile Valley culture. In fact, for African American descendants of the West Africans taken in the transatlantic slave trade, there is both DNA evidence and evidence amongst the oral traditions of certain West African tribes that they migrated to West Africa from the Nile Valley region. So for Black Americans, there is just as much, if not more, evidence that you may have had an ancestor from the ancient Nile Valley region than there is for the long-term narrative that has persisted for generations amongst African Americans that you have Indian in your family. And initially, since African Americans were labeled as people of color or colored people, a la the NAACP, and we could not identify our specific African heritage, then we identified with all people of color and celebrated cultures from the Zulus of South Africa to the pyramid builders of ancient Egypt in classic books like J.A. Rogers' World's Great Men of Color. It just so happens that decades later, DNA evidence and anthropological research into the oral traditions of West African tribes would reveal the direct connection between the Nile Valley and West Africa. So where's the lie? Before Hotep was used as the pejorative, different words and greetings associated with Muslims were used as the pejorative to identify the same group of people. Notice that the styles and fashions that are currently characterized as Hotep would have been associated with Muslims in the 90s. In fact, many of the most well-known people that would be characterized as a Hotep, in fact, have Muslim names. It is interesting to note that the mental migration of consciousness of African Americans from Islam to ancient Egypt reflects a reverse of the physical migration in Africa from the kingdoms of ancient Egypt to the Islamic empires in West Africa. And for more on this topic, go see one of my earlier videos entitled Kush and Al-Kahul, linking West Africa with the ancient Nile Valley. The problem with using the word Hotep as a pejorative is that it makes it seem like there's something wrong with greeting by using the word Hotep or identifying with your African heritage. But these are, in fact, not the problems. I would even go so far to say that the problem with Hoteps is not even the part where they point out the historical systematic oppression of Black people around the world. And even if these Hotep discussions do dovetail into conspiratorial conversations, from the scramble for Africa to COINTELPRO, it is indeed a fact that there have actually been conspiracies against Black people. So again, where's the lie? Discernment, scrutiny, and critical thinking are required to examine the nuance. If you do not believe in any conspiracy theories, then you may be naive. But if you believe in all the conspiracy theories, then you may be gullible. So if the real problem with Hoteps is the promotion of conspiracy theories, then call it out. If the problem with Hoteps is pseudoscience, then call it out. If the problem is misogyny or sanctimonious self-righteousness, then call it out. There are words that exist to identify all of these problems, but none of these words are Hotep. Criticism is warranted, and jokes will come. No one is above being questioned, no one is above being criticized, and no one is above being derided. When consciousness is crowdsourced, criticism and ridicule serves as a form of peer review, which provides the necessary scrutiny and falsification that if the information is re-examined and corrective action is taken, then technology will result through the practical application of the information. When the ideologies and philosophies which are qualified as Hotep are expressed through practical application and become high-tech, then the result will be a highly technologically advanced Black African civilization, much like we witnessed in the science fiction movie Black Panther within the country of Wakanda. There are many instances where things presented in science fiction have become reality, from automatic doors to tricorders to cell phones. Therefore, the idea of a high-tech Hotep Afro-Futuristic society is equally achievable. Are you a Hotep? If you are proud to be black, recognize that black people had a long, rich history that begins before slavery, and embrace your African heritage by wearing traditional African styles, then there are people in today's Western society who would definitely qualify you as a Hotep. If you think it's all about conspiracy theories and pseudoscience, then maybe you just don't understand. A Hotep is someone who is not considered part of the Western world. They are looked at differently. They are not accepted because of their clothes, their occupation, their beliefs, or their skin color. Now ask yourself, are you a Hotep? Wake up and realize what's going on around you and take back control over your life and existence. Hotep out.